Hey, want to hear a story? A story about two men. One, Orion Akaba, the player behind Tiberius Stormwind, and possibly the most famous problem player of all time. He used to be on the show Critical Role, which would become arguably the most popular TTRPG show of all time. But he was removed. The two groups parted ways for many reasons. Some in-game reasons, like no doubt his particularly cringy last episode, episode 27 of Critical Role. There's no doubt that that was at least a contributing factor.
As Vex is saying this, Tiberius is getting a half check.
Anyway.
But also, Orion Akaba had a lot of out-of-game problems to handle, and as a growing business, Critical Role probably did not want that burden on their shoulders, so the two groups split. The other man in the story, though, is Jeremy. Not his actual name, just an alias I gave him for the lulz. But Jeremy, he's not some famed problem player, though he does have a presence in the TTRPG space. He used to work with Nerdarchy, who make a lot of their own tabletop content, primarily for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It looks like Nerdarchy have devolved into AI slop these days, which, yeah, I guess we lost another one. But Jeremy used to be with those dudes. They did split ways, though, long before their AI days. And Jeremy, for years now, has been doing his own thing on his own self-titled YouTube channel. He talks about culture, politics, movies that he watches, but most often, he's talking about his favorite game, Dungeons & Dragons. And by favorite game, I mean, like, he practically worships Dungeons & Dragons. He believes it is the most powerful tool for self-improvement to ever be created, bestowed upon man by God, as if Jesus himself whispered through Gary Gygax and commanded him to create D&D as an 11th commandment to guide the human population. It's a lot. He really loves D&D. He loves it so much, in fact, that during the open game license fiasco a few years back, Jeremy was probably the only person in the entire universe who was on Hasbro's side.
You know, the corporate greed, Hasbro's doing us dirty, man. We fight for the right to make derivative content and insult Dungeons & Dragons at the same time.
He actually made it on this channel years back when he made a series of like 6 videos complaining about Ginny D. What was he mad at Ginny D for? She's lovely. Well, he was mad at Ginny D because she didn't like the 2000 D&D movie.
Can use every ounce of your rage.
You know, the bad one? Like, she didn't like that movie, and he made 6 videos whining about it. My lord. But that was nothing compared to his obsession with Orion Akaba, that same problem player. You see, Jeremy learned about Orion's plight, and he developed a bit of an obsession, which started as simple empathy.
Today we're going to talk about Orion Akaba, who played the Dragonborn Sorcerer in Legends of Vox Machina for 27 episodes, and then left Critical Role, right?
Quickly morphed into, well...
Right, my redemption was in my supernatural and terrestrial redemption, right? Rested in the hands of Jesus Christ. Orion Akaba, right? He is waiting for redemption from Matthew Mercer. Now, Orion Akaba's redemption, right, which is 100% in the hands of Matthew Mercer.
Practically religious devotion. When I made my video about Jeremy's obsession with Orion Akaba a few months back, he had 18 videos about Orion. And yeah, making 18 videos about this one guy who was kicked out of a D&D show like 10 years ago, that's kind of weird. Like, that's a lot of videos about one dude. But I had no idea just how unhinged this was about to get, because he would continue to make 250 more videos about Orion Akaba, Tiberius Stormwind, and Critical Role. Guys, this obsession got so much worse. And honestly, I need to talk about it. Like, I need to tell someone about this because I've actually been keeping up with it. Like, every now and then I'll tune into a Jeremy video to see what unhinged thing he's saying about Orion Akaba today. And honestly, I just need to get this cursed knowledge out of my brain and bestow it upon you. You must share my burdens. So today, we're going to be talking about Jeremy, and more importantly, looking at how these sort of relationships even develop and why it is becoming a problem. Without further ado, y'all, what the hell happened?
My name's Tiberius Stormwind of House Stormwind from Jaconia.
There are professors teaching it. There are professors teaching this right now.
Okay, before we talk about Jeremy, I am a narcissist, so I do have to talk about myself. After I made my video, a lot of you guys were worried about me. You were worried that Jeremy, as crazed as he looks and sounds, he might come after me. He might find me. He might fist fight me in a Denny's parking lot. That last one was very specific, but unfortunately, none of that stuff happened. I know, I was disappointed too. It doesn't even look like Jeremy knows that my video exists. I mean, this is the same guy who practically worships Jeff Bezos and thinks Katy Perry going to space was a great step forward for women everywhere. He doesn't seem very aware of a lot of things, let alone aware of me. Honestly, what happened after my video has nothing to do with Jeremy and has much more to do with myself. For starters, many people from Jeremy's hometown and his home state, they flooded my comment sections to gossip about him. Turns out, we have stumbled upon a bit of a local legend. I'm not gonna say where exactly Jeremy lives and what game stores people were talking about in the comments because that's doxing and we don't do that here. And I would ask that anyone who does know Jeremy in real life, please refrain from doxing him in the comments. Otherwise, unfortunately, you will be blocked. But the point is that, yeah, Jeremy is very well known in his town for being a god-awful player and dungeon master in many of his game stores. He's kicked out groups constantly, and he is well known to many local D&D players.
And that everybody at your table is such a special, perfect princess who never sinned and is never unkind to the person next to them, right? Well, guess what, Spencer Stark? Guess what, John Harper? It's not cool to build games for them. What about the jerks of the world? What about the people who aren't special, perfect princess nuns? And Critical Role is responsible for this.
He's become infamous. The local D&D players know to stay away from this dude, which was just crazy to find. But anyway, besides that, I also got some reports that Jeremy apparently confronted Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham at a convention. I looked into it, and no, that did not happen. The guy who confronted them about Tiberius Stormwind was a different guy entirely, not Jeremy. I don't blame people for having this misconception, as in that old video, I did blur his face, so, you know, it's easy to get two people who are white and have beards mixed up if one of them is completely blurred out. But I will say, yeah, the dude at the convention is not Jeremy, which means that there are two of them. But of course, the biggest thing that happened after the Jeremy video was something I did not expect, and that is that Matthew Mercer, the dungeon master behind Critical Role, reached out to me because of that video. I mean, he did also reach out to me because he thought my Shadowheart cosplay was cute, but he also reached out because of the Jeremy video, which means, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Mercer is messy. But yeah, full circle moment, that message from Matt Mercer led to me asking him to come onto my show. He agreed because he enjoyed my content, and then we did a podcast together. That podcast was cited by comicbook.com, who put it in one of their videos. Jeremy then watched that video and used it in one of his obsession pieces about Orion Akaba. It's a full circle moment, baby, and I don't even think Jeremy knows about any of it. So yeah, Jeremy, if you ever find out about any of this, I just want you to know, it was me, Jeremy. Okay, but yeah, enough about me. Those first 20 videos were wild. We went from Jeremy mildly empathizing with Orion Akaba to thinking that he is a religious figure. So, I mean, how much worse can you get after 250 episodes? I want to give you the context. that this whole obsession started when Jeremy saw that Tiberius Stormwind would be absent from Legend of Vox Machina. He then dug up the situation from there and learned about Orion Akaba and his departure. So the question is, did he ever actually watch Critical Role? And the answer is no. No, he never actually watched Critical Role. All of this stuff we're about to talk about, 250 plus videos about Matt Mercer, Critical Role, Orion Akaba, this whole unhinged rant, it is all based on a show he's never actually seen. Which makes sense because Orion Akaba seems kind of irrelevant to Jeremy. Like, yeah, he's the main subject, but Jeremy just uses Orion to push his own beliefs and also uses Orion for another purpose we're going to talk about in a second. But for now, I'm going to say that most of these videos that we're about to look at, 250 episodes, it's a lot of stuff that we have heard before. Tired arguments about how Critical Role is exploiting the labor of Orion Akaba. How? Well, because they're using his original work?
Critical Role stole Orion Akaba's art, okay? So I've said this several times. I've said, hey, Critical Role stole Orion Akaba's art, right? They stole his original character. They are stealing his work today.
Look, this argument is really dumb for a few reasons, though I do want to clear up a misconception I've seen in the comment sections of Jeremy's video. Jeremy repeats over and over and over again that Orion Akaba and Tiberius Stormwind are in 72 episodes of Critical Role. Now, in actuality, Orion Akaba leaves on episode 27. And a lot of people think that Jeremy, being as stupid as he seems, just reversed the numbers and is refusing to admit that he's wrong. But here's the thing. I actually looked it up. You see, by complete coincidence, episode 72 is the episode where Tiberius Stormwind is buried by Vox Machina and effectively his last appearance on the show. Which, wow. Fate is real, for starters, but also it lends at least some credibility to what Jeremy's saying. At least he's not a complete idiot, but I mean, still, it's a really stupid, pedantic point to make. Obviously, for the entire run of Critical Role up to episode 72, where Tiberius reappears out of nowhere as a dead body, Tiberius Stormwind is not in the show, and saying that Critical Role exploited Orion's labor to make themselves millionaires, it's stupid for obvious reasons that I'm not going to explain to you because you guys are not idiots. Now, his next point is way more fascinating. You see, he also believes that Orion Akaba represents the plight of American males.
Despair it's an American male problem. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, and it doesn't exist for women. It's a term that's literally used by the New York Times to describe low millions of deaths that are suffered every year and have been suffered for about 15 years by men who have been cast aside by our society.
Yes, you see, Jeremy's one of those people who believes that women succeeding at anything means that all men are basically failing. He thinks that American men are an endangered species that are inevitably going to go extinct if women keep on succeeding in life. And now, Jeremy thinks Orion Akaba is like the frontline face of this new movement to save men. He thinks that if Matt Mercer gives Orion a second chance, he will save Orion's life.
Hey, today is my day to do nothing for Orion. I wonder if today is the day he will find his dumpster and freeze to death in the night, because I don't want to deal with hearing anyone else asking me to bring him to the table.
This man has daughters? My God. But in any case, the final argument is not necessarily as unhinged as that one, but it's still pretty crazy. You see, this man, who has not watched almost a single episode of Critical Role, has also decided that he hates the entire cast. Like, all of them, save for Matt Mercer, who he thinks is talented, and Orion Akaba, who he practically worships.
You can't say that his wife, Marisha Ray, is a shit. You can't say that Travis Willingham is a shit. You can't say that his lovely wife, Laura Bailey, is a shit.
Why does he hate the cast? I don't know. He particularly hates Taliesin and Travis. Taliesin, I couldn't tell you why. He's constantly complaining about Taliesin Jaffe and how he's useless and horrible.
So this is Taliesin Jaffe, and we already know to be the biggest screw up in Critical Role, right? How do we know this? Candela Obscura, right?
He also hates Travis Willingham because Travis is the CEO of Critical Role, and any business decision that Jeremy doesn't like going on tour or making Daggerheart, he blames squarely on Travis Willingham.
And every single one of them needs to stop play acting, stop making goofy voices, and stop touring the world like Hollywood celebrities, and actually do work.
But yeah, we heard those arguments in the last video. What about the new stuff? Well, there's some particularly unhinged material for us to look at over these 200 episodes. Hey, I mentioned that this guy does not like Daggerheart. Well, why? Well, besides the fact that he worships D&D like it's his actual god, he also believes that Daggerheart solely exists so that Critical Role can break away from Orion Akaba.
For the first time in 10 years, Critical Role can be successful without Orion Akaba. Critical Role has never been successful without Orion Akaba. So that means Daggerheart becomes the central linchpin, right?
You see, this guy believes that Critical Role need Orion. He is a moral burden on their consciousness. If they want to do the right thing, they have to invite him back. But their LA pride won't allow them to do it. So the solution for Critical Role, hear me out, to create an entirely new game to separate themselves from Orion Akaba. You see, Jeremy has elevated the importance of Orion over the course of this 200 video rant. At first, he empathized with him. Then he thought that Orion was a guy who needed a second chance and needed to be brought back to the show. Then he thought that Orion was superior to every other player in the game. And eventually, he started believing that Orion Akaba basically created Exandria, that everything that takes place in Exandria happens because of Orion Akaba. It's a lot. But through this reasoning, he has parsed out that they need to create a new game and a new world so they can break away from Orion and relieve themselves of their dependency on him. Now, obviously, if Critical Role Daggerheart succeeds, and they succeed in breaking away from Orion Akaba, that's a loss for Jeremy. So naturally, he hopes and begs on bended knee for Critical Role and Daggerheart's failure.
Daggerheart, right? Daggerheart just dropped. Oh my goodness, Daggerheart is out, right? The Dungeons and Dragons killer. Oh, everybody expected it. Oh my gosh, Matthew Mercer, they're just gonna come in, they're gonna sweep Daggerheart. Daggerheart's just gonna sweep Dungeons and Dragons off the ground, right?
His own ideas about how D&D should be played. Specifically, some commenters pointed out that hey, look dude, wouldn't it be really weird for them to bring back Orion? Wouldn't it be uncomfortable? They separated on, most likely, not wonderful terms. Bringing him back to the table would probably reignite some bad blood. But don't worry, because Jeremy has a solution to this problem.
We don't need a comfortable Critical Role. We need every single person at the table outrageously uncomfortable to make the next, and that is the only way to get the very best Critical Role season we've ever had.
Whew. Somehow I find that to be more crazy than the whole Matt Mercer is Jesus thing. They're both wild, but this one in particular, this one set me sour, especially since throughout this video series, he also has a habit of talking about Ashley Johnson and Brian W. Foster. If you're unaware, there's an alleged abusive household situation between the two. It's an ongoing case, and I don't want to talk too much about it until I know more about it. But Jeremy decided to hell with that, and he talks about it, not frequently, but talks about it enough that it's uncomfortable. And in this video, where he's talking about discomfort being a good thing, he decides to bring up Ashley Johnson and Brian W. Foster, and I'm not going to play the clip, because it's just that disgusting. It's bad. This guy sucks. But yeah, back to Orion Akaba. His devotion to Orion would only get worse. Him thinking that Orion basically created Exandria, I thought that's the worst it could get. But no. It goes to another level. You see, now, he has started calling Orion Akaba the Dragon Master. Which, like, honestly, if this guy needs any money anytime soon, which, based on his outfits, like, he could probably use it, he should probably try getting some cash out of Katie Maravich in a lawsuit, because she clearly ripped off that term.
I am your humble Dragon Master, Katie Maravich.
But yeah, what Jeremy means by the Dragon Master is the most important Dungeons & Dragons player. He thinks that Orion Akaba is the most important D&D player since Gary Gygax himself, the person who spoke this holy grail of self-improvement into existence. Orion Akaba is chosen. He is so important that professors are writing essays about him.
Wow. They are writing academic textbooks that will list Orion Akaba, right? They're writing academic textbooks right now on the subject of D&D live action play. And you cannot write one without writing about Orion Akaba. He is not just a guy, okay?
I honestly, look, I watched this guy's video. Not all of them, I'm not insane, but I watched like a good amount of them, and I have no idea where this whole like professor thing came up, that Orion Akaba is so important that like academics are doing research on him. It seems kind of concerning. But don't worry, it actually does get worse. Over the course of this whole video series, and over the course of watching this video, you've probably been thinking, Crispy, what's he talk about for 250 videos? Like, there's only so much yapping you could do about Orion Akaba, right? Well, don't worry, Jeremy has found a way to create infinite Orion content. You just never stop thinking about Orion in every aspect of your life. I'm not kidding. This guy will connect everything in his life to Orion Akaba. Zohran Mamdani gets elected in New York. What does this mean for Orion Akaba? Fantastic Four First Steps comes out in theaters. What does this mean for Orion Akaba? Katy Perry goes to space. What does this mean for Orion Akaba?
Katy Perry is so brave. People forgot that she's brave, right? And she was there to bolster every other woman. Every other woman would be like,
It's everything. It's everything. This guy never stops thinking about Orion Akaba. But yeah, this obsession went on and on and on, but I was waiting to make a sequel video. You know, even after he passed the 200 video mark, I still waited patiently because I knew that it would only get better when Campaign 4 of Critical Role was announced. See, the goal of these videos is to get Matt Mercer to invite Orion Akaba back to Critical Role for Campaign 4. Now, reality has dictated that that's not going to happen. So how is this guy going to respond? Well, it's fascinating. Not only is Orion Akaba not coming back to Critical Role Campaign 4, but Matthew Mercer himself is not going to be returning as the Dungeon Master. It's Brennan Lee Mulligan.
yeah, we had the best Dungeon Master in the world. Now we have the interim vice principal. I cannot.
Shocker. And of course, this is coming from a guy who's never seen an episode of Critical Role, so he sure as shit has never seen an episode of Dimension 20. He has no idea how Brennan DMs, and he only dictates how Brennan DMs based on the view counts of his shows on Critical Role. Which, side note, he compares everything to the first few episodes of Critical Role Campaign 1, which obviously are going to have more views than everything else. He uses this as the proof that Orion Akaba is needed, because the video where he is, it got the most views, guys! Now, Orion Akaba is not in Campaign 4, but there are a lot of new faces that have been invited to the table. What does he think of them?
Does Whitney Moore deserve her seat at the table in the expanded cast? Absolutely not. Okay, here's why. All right, what is a Critical Role? It's 5 bog standard white dudes.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. If you look like this, you are not allowed to call Travis Willingham bog standard. Like, I'm not attracted to muscles. Like big, swole guys, I think it looks kind of unnatural most of the time. Like, the Marvel Rivals men designs are just not appealing to me at all. But, like, Travis Willingham. But anyway, seriously, he does not like the new cast members. He does not like the announcement Brendan's the DM. But what he does like is West Marches. You see, Orion Akaba is not being invited back to Campaign 4, but Jeremy is still clinging on to hope. You see, with West Marches, he thinks there's a chance.
So what he did was he structured with West Marches so that he could bring back, in my humble opinion, I believe, it is my humble opinion, Brendan Lee Mulligan will be the path to return Orion Akaba back to the Critical Role table.
He's not coming back for episode 1, but he could come back any other time to 3 different campaigns. Even when it's hopeless, the apocalypse is always just one day away. That's where we ended off for now. He's no doubt gonna keep on making Orion Akaba videos forever and ever and evermore. But why? Why is he doing this? Why does he care so much? And more importantly, why do I care? Well, first, fun. This is fun. I find this fun. But also, I find it fascinating because I think Jeremy represents something that is present in all of us. Okay, so why? Why Orion Akaba? Well, I think it's because Jeremy thinks that he is Orion. Not that he thinks they're literally the same person. No. I don't think he's that crazy. But he thinks that they have some shared life experiences.
One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about defending this and demanding Matthew Mercer return him to the table is because I am Orion Akaba. I have done at the table what he has done.
I said it at the top. That bit about all those people from his hometown coming to my comments and telling stories about Jeremy, that was important because obviously Jeremy has been kicked out of his fair share of D&D groups. He admits this himself blatantly. He obviously feels sympathy for Orion's plight because Jeremy's been kicked out of plenty of D&D groups. Orion got kicked out of the biggest D&D group of them all. So Jeremy wants Orion to succeed because it would mean a spiritual victory for himself, which sounds crazy, but I mean, come on. We all do this, at least to an extent. Not to this extent, but to an extent. We all have our own celebrity crushes, our favorite YouTubers, our preferred podcast hosts, our favorite characters in video games or movies. This sort of empathy, it's not unhealthy. It's human. A big reason why I stopped pretending to be older than I am, why I've been more open about being in my early 20s, about being young. The reason is because of LE SSERAFIM, a K-pop group. Their success at a young age and the way they talk about being treated as young people in a big industry, I found empathy with that, and it helped me to be more confident in myself. And frankly, I don't think that's unhealthy, and I think everyone out there has some version of that story for their own self. The problem becomes when your empathy for this thing that's external to you becomes an addiction, becomes necessary, becomes your entire sense of self-worth. This sounds crazy, but it's not really that uncommon. I mean, think of groups like QAnon, groups like the GameStop short squeeze cultists. These are cults. One is a political cult, the other is a finance cult, both of which are destructive and addictive. These are people who have placed a lot of value, all of their self-worth, into an event that's never going to happen. In the case of the GameStop short squeeze guys, they are convinced that an event called MOAS will herald the end of the modern economy and turn them all into billionaires. This is never going to happen, ever. It's just a fact. Reality has proved it to be a fact, but these guys have invested so much of themselves into this cult. I have seen them give up their entire 401ks in a futile effort to make it happen. And yes, the GameStop guys, they want money. The QAnon guys, they want their political enemies to be dead. But beyond that, I think there's actually something more important. They want validation. Like when you watch GameStop short squeeze guys, they talk all the time about their wives, their parents, the people who give them the side eyes at dinner, who treat them like they have no idea what they're talking about. They want the money as a reparation for all of that judgment. They want to rub it in everyone's faces that they were right the whole time. And I think Jeremy is the same way. He wants validation. Validation for all those groups who kicked him out in the past. If the most famous problem player of all time can be invited back, no strings attached, no need for change, then Jeremy could be invited back too. And even if he's not, it proves that those groups who kicked him out, that they were wrong all along, that Jeremy was the one in the right. It's kind of sad because it's so sad. He never talks about Orion needing to change or improve. Like, he always talks about Orion coming back as an act of divine redemption. That Critical Role will invite Orion back because they're in debt to him. They need him. But Orion never needs to do anything on his end to make it happen. Why? Well, probably because Jeremy doesn't want to do anything on his end either. That's part of the fantasy. Orion isn't just desired, he's needed. That's what Jeremy wants.
That Matthew Mercer and every single Critical Role player have no choice. They have to bring Orion back, okay?
I think the best evidence for this argument is that Jeremy doesn't actually really want Orion to play at Critical Role Campaign 4. That's not what he wants. He just needs Orion to be invited to Critical Role Campaign 4. The invitation is enough. Proof that Orion Akaba is needed by the table. Because that would mean Jeremy is needed too. But unfortunately, validation doesn't come by just sitting on your butt. Self-improvement doesn't come by being lazy. You actually need to put some effort into it. And while I don't know anything about Orion's self-improvement, I'm pretty sure I know what's gonna happen with Jeremy's. Nothing. Nothing at all. But yeah, that is the story of Jeremy once again. This is probably gonna be the last Jeremy episode, like almost definitely the last Jeremy episode. Watching so many of this guy's videos, I think it's driven me patently insane. I'm gonna need a break soon, which is why in September I am going on vacation. I will be taking about a week and a half off from Crispy's Tavern and Crispy's Academy. I'm gonna be heading to Banff in Canada and then jetting off to somewhere completely opposite. I'm gonna be going to Vegas for a La Seraphim concert, so just during that time I won't be uploading and I wanna keep you guys in the know about that. I hope you guys still support the channel even during my break. In any case, if you guys enjoyed and you watched the entire video all the way through, then leave the comment again, Jeremy, to let me know you were loyal to the Tavern. If you want to see more of our content, then that previous episode on Jeremy might tickle your fancy. It's linked in the cards, but before you go, please do leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to support us directly, then you can subscribe to our Patreon, where you will find exclusive D&D and Draw Steel content. Your support is what makes these videos possible. In essence, like, comment, subscribe, support. We will see you all next time. Farewell.